Hi everybody, welcome back to Philosophy with Kerry. In today's episode we are going to talk about psychic gifts, a few notable psychic gifts, some notable paranormally psychic experiences. Most psychic abilities are classed in the form of ESP, extrasensory perception abilities, also classed as inner knowing, sixth sense, and heightened abilities and senses. Telepathy. This is the basis of communicating through the mind or thought, not sound or language. Silent communication of the own mind and others. A lot of tests into twin telepathy were conducted in the 1800s. People believe because twins were together in the womb, they share some kind of telepathic connection. There have actually been reports of types of emotional twins where they feel the same things as each other, even though they are having a different experience. We only see and experience what we allow, so we only believe what we allow. If we go far back into history's beginning, we notice that there was often a divide that was mentioned in our cultures and our languages. We were often reported as sharing one language. By this I mean that we were all typically one race, shared one source of information and one language. Such occurrences of this happening are the Tower of Babel. I will probably do a separate video on that. But a general insight to the Tower of Babel is that it was a meeting place for universal countries, tribes, and just basically the population of the earth to meet and share information, and they ended up sharing too much information, and this upset the gods, and the gods reacted, which could be related to the Great Flood, unsure, but either way, the gods reacted badly and punished the humans and the gods of Eden that were working alongside the humans, that gave them too much knowledge. So some people see this as the tower in tarot. You know, in tarot it's often depicted as a huge tower, quite often like the Tower of Babel, with the circular walls that goes very high up with inner chambers, and some great catastrophe happens, it is struck and the people fall down and, sorry, that was my guitar, behave, and every race falls from the tower in a great catastrophic event, and this separates nations and just basically everybody. This was actually believed by the people of our history until we deemed it as a type of fairy tale. It is in a lot of artwork and a lot of very well-known, well-documented, very trusted people documented this. I did a lot of research on body language when I was doing certain types of spiritual studies, and I generally think that this can relate to the whole communicating silently. For example, a long-held blink shows compassion. It gives the people a sense of feeling that they are cared about. It's a way of silently saying, I love you. I go past a farm. I used to go past a farm before I had my driver's license, but I would go past a farm and there would always be lots of animals, and I would always make sure that I slow blink to them. You just gotta show love. Also, different types of hugs show different things in body language, and you can generally feel that. You can typically feel different types of body language. I will also do another video on brain crystals. A lot of tests has been done on the finds of crystals in our brain, mainly magnetite. This has resulted in us finding that our brains react with a type of magnet form. Whether this relates to communication through other like minds or the Earth's compass in basis, we don't really understand. But we know that we have these magnetic crystals in our brains that we cannot understand. Tests have been done into this relation with telepathy. There have been a lot of tests conducted where two people who are said to be types of psychics, generally clairvoyants, would sit in a room, and this room would have a type of divide, and they would see if they can pick up on each other's thoughts. And while this was happening, there would be some brain connection tests happening as well. This often found a result in a lot of brain activity. Not only that, the people who had higher brain crystal activity reported a lot of telepathic communication. So this makes us believe that they are somehow in connection with telepathy. The tests also showed a rise in activity in the parahypical gyrus. It's a long word. I have no idea if I said that correctly. I will write it. There are many reported psychic healers, such as with energy healing, not only these types of healing, muses and things like that. I have had a reading done from a muse. I had no idea this psychic person was a muse before the reading, but the way she performed her psychic ability was through belching. I'd never heard of this. She did a lot of belching during the healing, and yeah, for quite a while I kind of, suspected her of faking this burping act, but then it sounded like it was actually kind of really hurting her. Like, I was like, she wouldn't do this to herself because it was really bad. And I was like, wow, I must be full of all this terrible energy giving it to this lady, and she's just burping like crazy. Anyway, I looked it up when I got home, and yeah, it's an actual thing that muses sometimes do. They burp out your energy. It was a crazy experience, but a cool one. Thank you for burping out all my energy. Now, heightened senses such as extra smelling abilities, or maybe you can just see in the dark really well, hearing things people normally can't pick up on, different frequencies. All of these things generally classed as ESP, extra sensory perception abilities, meaning you have stronger abilities. So I like to call them superpowers. My sister definitely has super smelling. Yes, Kelly, you know you do. My daughter, Nevaeh, definitely has super hearing because she always hears her phone charger, and I have to really tune in to hear. She thought it was a snake in her room once. She's so cute. Also, quite important to note that when the senses are deprived, we see things of the otherworld realities the veil seems to thinnen, and if your ears are sensory deprived, such as kids are afraid of the toilet flushing because of a loud noise, the showers, because when your senses are down from these physical experiences, you often tap into the other dimensional sounds. It thinnens the veil. A lot of women who've had a baby become very maternal and will often report hearing a child cry when their child isn't crying while they are in the shower. Or, for instance, people might hear scary noises when they hear another loud noise. Also, there is such a thing as sensory deprivation tanks. So you would go into these tanks, all your senses would be deprived until you saw something from the other worlds, or heard something, or smelt something, etc. There are many kinetic abilities. Kinetic generally just means motion. So any kinetic ability is to move something. In a psychic term, this is referred to as moving something, making something have motion with the mind. There are, I'm not sure if it's like hundreds or just a lot, but there are a lot of kinetic abilities. Typical ones we know of are people bending spoons with their mind. This is a real thing, not just on the Matrix. Another kinetic type of ability would be levitation, making yourself move with your mind. Clairvoyance, clear vision, the ability to see beyond time and space. This is classed as remote viewing, and other abilities of going to view something. If you can travel places in the mind and see things before you've actually physically in this life form gone and seen them, you are classed as a clairvoyant. Some people refer to this as second sight. I definitely have second sight. Just putting it out there. There's also clairaudience, clairempathy. These people are often quite related and broadly spectrumized as indigo children and such. I mean, they can be indigo children, but just because you feel other people's emotions and are a sponge to that, do not think that you are just an indigo child. You can be so much more than that. Some people believe we are all angels. I believe you are what you think you are. Life is what you make it. Clairalience, sense of smell. My sister. Clairgustance, sense of taste. I don't know why this is called gustance. I guess I just relate it to disgust. Maybe that's why it's the sense of taste. Ugh. And then clairtendency. This is also referred to as reading blueprints. So you are reading a memory form from an object, gaining information from either just touching or holding an object, but the presence of physical touch tends to pass through this information that it is collected. This is easier with anything that has internal consciousness. So a object is more a matter of energy and form, whereas anything like even a shred of grass has consciousness. By that I mean it knows how to grow, it knows how to grow well, it knows how to look after itself. So don't tell me it doesn't have consciousness. We are in a multiverse that shares this consciousness. We have no idea where it came from. Beings often refer to the source of all this consciousness as God. We don't know how the world knows how to look after itself, but it is a ever-providing world, and it looks after itself naturally. This also gets way deep into it, the law of one and a whole other lot. I'll do another video. And then there is mediumship, contact with the energy fields of the deceased are just souls from now. There is even a thing called thoughtography. Now, bear with me. This sounds pretty crazy, but there have actually been many records in history of people believing they have printed a image from their mind, from the eyeball, onto a physical canvas. You can look up and find actual images of this that people have said they have done, mainly on porcelain type plates or hard clear base canvases. But there has been history of this, and you can actually research it. So this is people printing pictures from their mind image. Pretty crazy stuff. In the 1970s, a Russian woman named Nina Kulangina was famous for her psychic abilities, and scientists studied her. During these tests, she moved the needle of a compass using telekinesis, influenced razor beams, made people feel heat on their skin. Apparently in one case she even set a reporter's arm on fire, and even stopped the heart of a frog. Everybody has the potential to possess psychic abilities. It's just knowing how and being able to indicate what yours are as a basis to work on. People who believe this kind of stuff isn't real is silly, seeing as the biggest people in the world have funded untold amounts of money into studying this. It is also important to mention before I finish this video, the human eye can only see between 430 and 770 terahertz. The ears can only detect sound between 20 Hz and 20 kilohertz. This basically means that there is a lot going on that our eyes and ears are not witnessing. So keep the minds open. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm literally loving this. It's so much fun. Before I finish this video, important, big shout out to my favourite littles, my beautiful daughters, Nevaeh and Raven, and my nice nephew and niece, Clara and Reed. I love you. Also, thank you guys. I love you all too. Also, I must not. Sorry if I'm terribly quiet on some videos. I sometimes do this when my kids are in bed. I'll see you in the next vid.